everyone, it's Misty here, design team member for Stamp Anything. Welcome to another episode of Fannie Friday, and welcome to another card in the Quality for All Makers collaboration that I'm doing with my friend Michael Trent. You are welcome to join us. All of the information will be listed in the description box down below. So I didn't realize this was Merman. I don't know why that didn't register, probably because I've had a sinus infection for 3 weeks. So that is why we are not face to face today. I'm on my second round of antibiotics, and today I actually sound like myself. For the last couple of days, I sounded like Kermit the Frog. Okay, so I am going to be making a Pride themed card, and I'm going to be coloring not only our mermaid from the May release, but I'm also going to be coloring an image from the Magical Celebrations box, which is the one about the Disney parks. So for her hair, which is beautiful, this hair, like the way Anne drew this hair is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. So I am using several different BGs, and I will have all the colors that I use listed in the description box down below, along with all the other supplies that I used. And I'm doing, on the big pieces of hair, I'm doing like a darker gradient. And then on the smaller pieces, or maybe it's flip-flopped, but I'm doing a gradient. So some pieces are lighter, some pieces are darker, and I just really love how this turned out. I knew that I wanted a very whimsical mermaid. You guys know I did the fairy card that was also kind of whimsical as well. I just really wanted her to stand out because I knew that I would be using dark colors for the water. So once I did this, I'm going to move on to her face and then her tail. So I used probably my favorite combination of BGs. And again, I will have those listed in the description box down below. And I just love this hair. I just love this hair. I love the look of it. I could have gone through and did an ombre on every, like a gradient on every strand that we have there, but I just didn't. So for her tail, I'm going in with some pinks. I apologize for the lighting. What's weird is I'm down to lights and it looks like this. It's pretty washed out. So I'm gonna have to play around with it and see what's going on. Also, we had our vents cleaned and I was anticipating them to be in my craft room, on a ladder, like adjusting the vents and stuff. And the vent is right over my craft desk where my setup is. So I have I have two lights and my camera mounted to the wall. If I can remember, I'll try to throw up a picture. And I had them in the perfectly spaced position, but I pushed them all the way back. So I wouldn't have any, like there wouldn't be an issue. And then they didn't even come in here. They did it all from the attic. So I haven't figured out kind of the new placement or like the old placement. Like I need to get it figured out. So I had actually filmed and colored this video like last week some point. And I finally got around to finishing the card today. And I'm doing this voiceover on Thursday. So for her skin, I knew I wanted it to be human-esque, but I also wanted it to be very, very light because she probably wouldn't be out about in the sun, although she does have a girlfriend. So yeah. And I need you to suspend reality just a little bit. I mean, it's a mermaid. Come on now. But I don't know if you guys are readers. I'm an avid reader. I read at least a book a day or a book every couple of days. And I love reading fantasy and I love reading paranormal too. So, yeah. Okay, so initially I wanted to draw like scales on her and add this glittery embossing powder. So that's a Versamark pen, which is basically a pen that has Versamark ink in it. And Versamark ink is a pigment ink, or not a pigment ink, but a sticky ink so you can emboss. So since the tip was too large to do individual scales, I just kind of added some to the tail. And then I decided to go back and add it to a couple strands on her hair. This is a kaleidoscope glitter embossing powder. I mean, I've probably literally had this for 12, 13 years. Like since my husband and I first got together, I've had this for forever. It's really, really pretty. It gives just a little hint of glitter when you turn it. And I thought that would make up for her for me not being able to do individual scales, but it's so pretty. Just a little hint of shine, and I really love it. So her girlfriend is this cutie pie from the Magical Celebrations Grab and Go box. I will have that link down below. I believe it's still available. Hopefully I am not telling you a Wendy. For her, I wanted her skin to be a little bit darker because she's out and about, but her face is going to be still somewhat pale, and paler than her body for the most part. She is another one that was really fun to color. I love coloring hair. And so many people, I mean, the design team is just fantastic at coloring, as you well know. And so I love getting inspiration from them, especially for like color combinations and stuff. But for the girlfriend, I don't know what to give her. Let's call her Gabby. So for Gabby, I knew that I wanted her to have either pink hair or turquoise hair. And I went ahead and decided on pink because I wanted her to have something related to the girlfriend, like to the mermaid. So that was the thought process in my head. This card, I had this card in mind immediately. And I have the one for next week also immediately. So I knew that I wanted this girl sitting on the dock. So Anne has a couple of stencil sets, and I will link them down below again. One of them is a dock, and you'll see that in a little bit. So I knew that I wanted her sitting on a dock with the mermaid underneath her. So but again, they're supposed to be, they're in a fantasy romance and they're dating. So there you go. So I am using RV. So these are the exact same colors that I used on the tail. This is an RV that I haven't used before. So this is RV 13, 23, and 21. And absolutely beautiful. This is a color combination that I hadn't played with before, but I loved it. Here, I'm trying to decide what color to put her in, like her little dress, and I decided to go with yellow. So this is why 0804 and I believe 00, just a really pale yellow. Again, her entire thing is not the focus of the card. So I brought in the darkest hair color, and I was like, no, I don't like that for the shoes. So we just went with black. So this is a slimline size card. I've cut it down to 3.5 by 8.5. I normally like to make my slimline cards that size. That way I'm not doing a bunch of different cuts. It's just one cut. Cut it at 3.5 on the 8.5 inch side, and you're good to go. So that's what I normally like to do. There you can see I messed up, turned it over because there's two sides to every piece of paper. And I realized that I had to put something for the paper to hold it down. I have a Wendy Vecchi, that magnetic pad, but I can't get it clean and it drives me. I don't like to look at it and I don't like to use it. So anyway, here's the dock. So I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. She's supposed to be for a minute, I was like, this is the wrong perspective. But then I thought, no, this could be where she's at the water and then behind her is the horizon. So for this, I'm using some distressed oxides. And the only reason I did that is because I don't own all of the colors in the ink. And I wanted to make sure that I had kind of a gray tone brown for the dock. And then I'm going over it with a more warm tone to give it a little bit of that weathered wood appearance. So, I told you that story earlier about the camera and stuff because this is mostly cut off and I apologize for that, but it is what it is, I guess. So for the horizon, I brought in broken china and I'm trying to avoid the brown so I don't make a muddied mess, but that just kind of gives us some sky behind our little girl. Isn't she so cute sitting up there? I love it. So I'm going to be using some, again, distress oxides. I like using oxides or I like using the pigment inks, the hybrid inks, because they are more opaque than like the regular water-based dye inks or distressed inks, which are a bit more sheer for lack of a better term. So I am trying to leave the center of this very, 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 very light, because I wanted the mermaid to be very highlighted in the middle. And I ended up going over the dock just a little bit to kind of get rid of that line of demarcation. Uh-oh, here comes a crazy cat. I apologize if she comes in here. Okay, she's going to the master bedroom. So after I did that, I went ahead and brought in the school of fish, and then I brought in the pirate ship, or the sunken ship. I guess it doesn't have to be a pirate ship. But I wanted the ship to be brown. I could have done it black, but I really wanted it to be brown because I was just thinking about how, it would be like from a pirate ship. For this school of fish, and then I'll do it the other fish later down the road. I used the darkest. I think this is Faded Jeans, maybe. It's one of the darker blues, and I did that because I wanted it to look like they were shadows swimming. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. So for the ship, I did bring in one of the browns from one of the ink pads. And then I went ahead and went over it with the oxide, because it was just not, if I had gone down first and then went over it with the blue, although I probably would have had to go around it. I don't know. Anyway, I did my best. I've told you guys before, I just get an idea and I have to get it out of my head. And this is what we did. So here is the second school of fish, and I'm doing that at the top and I'm doing the bottom. Fish. There is a food truck. I think it's called On the Hook, Off the Hook, On the Hook. I don't remember, but it's a food truck that just sells fish and chips. And it comes to our hometown like once a month, and it's flippin' delicious. It's so good. This. So I am cutting down strips of paper to 1/4 inch, and that's because we're going to create a background with these paper strips, and I'm going to walk you through how I did that. So of course I've got the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. So pretty. And then I cut down a piece of paper to 4 by 9 3/8. So a business size envelope is 4 1/8 by 9 1/2, I believe. So that's why I cut it to 4 by 9 3/8. So that way it's 1/8 of an inch around the border. That's what I was going for in my head. So these are adhesive sheets. You guys know I love these. You've seen me use these before. So you can either put down tape runner or liquid glue if you have it. This is just so much easier. So I am putting these strips on the diagonal and then just cutting off the excess. You've probably done this before, and if you haven't, this is a great way to use up excess paper, especially if you're working with some pattern paper. I did some really fun Christmas cards over on my JollyFatElf channel using paper strips that I just had lying around, and it turned out so cute. I loved it. So once I get down, I'm going to take off the rest of it, and then I'm going to speed through this part because it's literally very just monotonous. It's the same thing over and over again, and me just make sure I'm saying Roy G. Biv, Roy G. Roy G. Biv, Roy G. Biv, Roy G. Biv. So yeah, I really, really love this technique. And again, you can do it with pattern paper. You can do it with cardstock scraps. You just cut off the excess. And then if you're going to use a die, you're going to want to use a thinner, like a piece of copy paper. I don't know why I thought I needed to do a regular piece of cardstock. So I actually cut this out with a die, and I didn't like the way it looked, and the die was way smaller than I was anticipating. So we're going to use what's left over from me die cutting that, and you may see the die cut, the other part of it, in next week's card. I don't know. So I am just taping this on that card base that I made, and then I'm going to trim this down with my trimmer, and then we're going to adhere our background. So I'm going to adhere the background with tape runner, And then I am going to trim it down once we get that done. And then for our little girly, Gabby is going to go on flat with some regular tape runner. And then we're going to pop up our cute little mermaid. So I'm using some foam squares from Stamp Anything, and I'm going to be cutting some of these in half to go like where her tail is, where her fins are, some of the hair places as well. I like to put on extra adhesive because sometimes I sell my cards or send them, and if I want them to like make it. So sometimes you'll see people make a card with like one little strip of adhesive, and that's just not enough. And I don't mind spending more money on foam adhesive, etc. So yeah, I keep a little bowl like this on my desk for these little scraps, just like that. So here is a business size envelope, and you can see there that it fit. And I went back and forth on what sentiment I wanted on this. And I have a whole pack of Pride stickers that I picked up last year, and I'm like sending stuff to a friend, like, which one do you think? Which one should I do? Unfortunately, she was at a choir contest, so she couldn't help. But I decided to go ahead and use this rainbow. It says, keep calm and love who you want. I think that's what it says. But it's a really pretty pop-up one, and I actually really like it. I like it at the bottom. I like it kind of out of the way. And I think this card turned out super cute. It turned out basically as I had it in my head, minus the background and minus the sentiment. Because I was going to use the Pride sentiment set that is in the store, but I went with that instead. So that is it, friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you. Don't forget to check out the links that are in the description box down below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Follow the Facebook or go join the Facebook group. And we will see you next Friday for another card. Bye for now.